Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Sons of Appalachia recap. Right off the bat, this is one of the best episodes that they have made by far, and they've also covered one of the problems people have had with the episode so far, not being long enough, and with this episode, they really just pushed it to 44 minutes long, so I'm sure those complaints will finally be at rest. Like they said previously, that the episodes will be closer to 50 minutes, so they've held true to that statement. My video here will be divided into three sections: the recap, the theories I have, and then the final thoughts of what I thought personally about the episode. Of course, I invite all of you to leave a like, comment below letting me know how I did on this recap, and of course subscribing. It's free and you can unsubscribe anytime you want. Alright, so episode 3 released August 15th, 2025, and is titled The Mystery Deepens. Episode 3 starts immediately after episode 2, where they are in the woods standing in front of this witch right in front of them, and cuts immediately to the next day with Wild Bill stating the witch disappeared right in front of them. The three guys are seen sat on a bench talking to each other about what happened the previous night. They discussed what the cloaked figure was and what was she pointing at. In the end, they decide to go right back into the woods to see what they can find. After this quick meeting, they cut right back into the woods of North Carolina, with Buck not knowing what they're going after, and they start treading through the woods. Not long after, they do come upon a stone with a swirl in it, and Huckleberry has this to say about it.
Well, you
Lay that back down.
What is that?
It's a witching rock.
A what?
This here is her connection to the spirit world.
This rock that they found on the ground is some kind of connection to the spirit world that the witch uses to travel, and that the staff isn't used to help her walk, but a key to go from realm to realm. Buck lets him know that this sounds absolutely insane, like this cannot be something that is true and is an old wives' tale. Not too much longer after though, Buck just calmly let the guys know that he does see two lights on the other end of the holler that they're in, and is pretty concerned about it. And looking at this now, it sucks that the camera doesn't actually pick up the lights, unless it does and I'm blind, but sadly I do not see anything. But this is pretty strange. They're out in the woods and they just see two distant lights, you know, like 100 yards apart, one higher than the other. It's pretty interesting. Huckleberry lets the guys know that they should leave the rock there, and Buck decides that they should head the direction she was pointing from the rock that she stood upon. The guys start walking in the direction she was pointing on, you know, joking about finding another picture of Buck on their way. But instead, they find a washcloth with liver wrapped in it on top of a tree stump, causing Buck to obviously begin to feel sick. Huckleberry does notice something inside of the wrapped liver, so, you know, he gets his hands in there, he starts digging around, and discovers a little bit of obsidian, letting them know that obsidian used to be used for knives and sometimes surgical tools, and it's quite weird that they found that wrapped in liver. And that is when Huckleberry tells the tale of the Spearfinger. How she uses her finger to stab people, cut out their livers, take their livers, and then chew on them. That's when the guys start putting the pieces together. An old woman in the woods, a journal that brought them there, cloaked figures, liver, obsidian, noises, hearing Buck's dad's. She steals people's voices to draw them into the woods, and then Buck comes to the realization that they are back on the hunt for Spearfinger. The guys, now realizing what they're up against, decide to go out into the woods and discover more on Spearfinger, but not before a comedic moment with Bill taking up the liver, perfectly good liver, to eat later on in the journey. The three guys are seen walking through the woods, then suddenly Buck hears his dad calling out to him again. Bill gets scratched on the back, the guys start preparing to fight, hearing the whispering whistle through the trees, and they realize they gotta get the heck out of there while they still can, with all this action starting up. The guys on their way back to Buck's truck see a fire burning right in front of them. They rush towards it and realize someone's holding it. A man in a scarecrow mask throws the torch at them and sprints away quickly, leaving the torch burning on the ground. Huckleberry calls out the fact that they are back on a path they once were, but it's a whole lot different. And for those of you who don't know, the quest he's talking about is the Hunt for Spearfinger, which goes the entirety of Season 6 of Mountain Monsters, where they start in the Dark Forest, and the Scarecrow people ask them to go on a quest, after the Silver Giant, the Cherokee Death Cat, and ending eventually with Jeff going missing at the end of the season. We eventually never got an end to this quest because Trapper did pass away and Season 7 and 8 was focused on Tigert Valley, leaving the Spearfinger storyline to kind of cut short there. 24 hours later, it is now daytime. The guys are seen gathering sticks in the woods for a fire when Buck tells them they need to have a conversation, letting them know that he just got off the phone with a man who had video evidence from a trail camera. This man and his family own property with trail cameras for deer season, but they end up getting a video of what looks like a hand of Bigfoot reaching in front of the camera, and this is pretty insane. So Buck has the idea that since things are taking off so fast, why not take a break and go on a Bigfoot hunt? It cuts to night where the guys are seen getting out of Buck's truck and gearing up for another night hunt to go find that trail cam with Bigfoot footage on it. Before heading out, Bill goes right back to the truck to grab some snacks he brought to take with him on their journey. But not too much longer after that, they reveal that they finally have IR cameras for the night hunts. After walking through the woods, the guys stumble upon a tree that they believe has been snapped by Bigfoot. Buck teaches us that the splintering in the tree shows that it was snapped fresh, which, is assumed to be Bigfoot because, what else would snap a live tree in half like that? They also observe a mushroom that has been bitten out of on the ground, and not much longer after, the guys find the trail cam on the ground all busted up, broken into a bunch of pieces. Buck hands the camera person the SD card inside of it to eventually check the footage, and they head further out until finding another old tree rotting dead, falling on the ground. They believe at this point, there's no fresh signs of Bigfoot. All of these signs they're finding are, old. The guys decide to do some tree knocks, so Buck goes at it, knocks on a tree. They listen for a few seconds and hear some leaves rattle behind them. Immediately, they don't see anything, but they decide to go in the direction of the leaves they're hearing. After heading that direction, they end up don't finding anything, so that's when Buck has the great idea to split up into 3 teams. They can circle around it somehow if it is in there and kind of draw it to the middle. So Huckleberry and Bill get a camera person and Buck's like, hey, I'll record myself, and they go their own ways. And this next section here felt a little long, so I'll quickly summarize what all happens. Pretty much, Bill has this bag he's been carrying around with him, and he decides to chow down, ripping out all the jerky and food he has. Huckleberry is seen not really finding any new signs, he's having a hard time finding any, new signs of Bigfoot being in the area, and Buck starts hearing his dad again, and just, having these same things that happened with Spearfinger in the woods with him, out here where they're supposedly supposed to be finding Bigfoot. Also, before we move on, Bill did do a few Bigfoot calls, but in the end, eventually never got anything to reply back to him. And in Buck's section of this, solo hunting thing, there's text that says, unexplained voices can be heard on the camera audio, which I listened so closely and I could not hear anything. However, I have had hearing problems in the past, so maybe I'm just missing it. So while Buck is hearing all these strange voices and Bill is choking on his food, eventually Bill and Huckleberry do meet back up at the meetup spot, but where is Buck? Huckleberry calls out to him for a few times, yells for him, but with no response, so Bill and Huckleberry decide to go back out there and look for him. They keep calling out to him, they're listening closely for movement, but end up not finding anything. However, while walking deeper into the woods, they end up finding something, that being Buck's radio on the ground, and Huckleberry realizes that, this could mean he's in trouble, he's lost his only way of communication with the guys, so they keep heading the direction they found the walkie-talkie in, and do see him sitting on a tree log and, they let him know, like, hey, it's been an hour, past their meetup time. Like, where has he been? And Buck lets him know again that, like, he took a fall and that he started hearing his dad's voice again. And that he did hear a tree knock. While talking, Buck stops them and lets them know that he can hear a crow, like, calling out to them in the woods. So they decide to get up out of there, not knowing what is happening. And while walking back to Buck's truck, I did realize that I've seen this, like, cloaked figure behind them. It looks almost like a bathrobe, put in my notes here. There's just this person in a bathrobe standing right behind them, and none of them realize it. And at this point, I'm wondering, like, has this person been in the episode, like, just in the background? So we'll talk more about that later, but yeah, there is this person, like, right behind them. Once they arrive at Buck's truck, they realize that, like, the dome light, the light inside of the cabin of the truck was on, and Buck's like, hey, this goes off every 30 seconds. It's not supposed to be on like this. So they approach it easy, guns ready, and the light did eventually go off as they were approaching it, meaning they've just missed someone going inside of Buck's truck. The only thing in the truck, luckily, was the box, and that had the journal in it, but the lid was slightly opened, and there was some dirt on top of it, and, like, something blue on top of it. Buck assumes that they got back right in time as someone was trying to steal it, and they decide to get out of there, get a breather, and head back to base camp. And that's how the episode ended with the guys. However, they still have the trail cam footage and then a bit of other footage to show us that they have recovered. And on that trail cam footage was something very disturbing. There was that cloaked bathrobe figure walking right in front of the camera, across it from right to left. And then the next couple of clips was Buck looking at his camera, turning it around, and the bathrobe figures behind him again. And that's where the credits roll. So that cloaked figure and the bathrobe, I'm going to call him the bathrobe figure, it was in, like, the episode, a couple times. And I only know of those 2 times at the end, and then that one I did point out earlier, but it could have been in there multiple times. I don't really know. That should be something that maybe we go back and look for watching it again, but it was very interesting. But that is the end of our recap. That's the whole episode. Like I said, it's a nice long episode. However, that one night hunt section did take a while with, like, Huckleberry and Bill not really doing anything when they split up. And now the next section will be the theory section. So, one of the earliest theories I've had so far is that the witch lady that they saw in episode 2 at the end is actually Spearfinger herself. And I mainly came to that conclusion because Huckleberry tells them that story of Spearfinger, but also they find that liver and obsidian that, can cut, like Spearfinger has cut people's liver out. And I just made that connection there that, she's pointing over there to that liver wrapped in a washcloth. So that has to be her in that black robe, staff, and just everything. So yeah, that is the first theory I had, that the witch was our first face-to-face encounter with Spearfinger herself. Next up will be, who was the scarecrow figure with the torch that they saw in that first night? And immediately when I saw him, my first thought was, oh yeah, that's the guy from Season 6, Episode 1 that sent the guys on the journey to catch Spearfinger in the first place. I'm not really sure why he would be there again, throwing a torch at him. Maybe he's making his presence known, like, I'm still watching you guys need to get this done. Because I don't remember what the goal was. I'd have to rewatch the episode, but Season 6, Episode 1, and he's like, go get the Cherokee Death Cat and the Silver Giant, and they do all those. And I just gotta rewatch Season 6. But yeah, when I saw that dude, my first thought was, oh yeah, that's the cultist from Season 6, Episode 1. Next up would be, what are those 2 lights Buck saw when they were talking? He seemed pretty calm about it, just like nonchalantly, hey, there's like 2 lights over there. And I think that might be, it could be the cultists, again, watching them from afar, but I think this could be the return of Rogue Team. I don't really have any evidence other than the fact that Rogue Team has watched them in the past like that, just far off, distantly. If they were trying to watch, they must have done a pretty poor job to, like, let them see their flashlights, but I think that could be Rogue Team, and I don't really have any evidence to build around that. I've seen a few other people theorize on that in, like, the discussions, but yeah, I really think that's who we saw. You know, they're building up what once was Mountain Monsters with all these storylines intertwining. That's what I think is happening. And then we go on to who was in Buck's truck. So we know there's a few creatures out there in the woods with them. We know the cultists are there. We have that weird bathrobe figure that's standing behind them. We have Rogue Team potentially, and out of all those, who I think was in Buck's truck might be Rogue Team. I don't know if they were trying to take the box, or maybe the cultist put something into the box. We don't know that yet, but if someone was trying to take the box, I think that would be Rogue Team. They see these guys are on their hunt, and the cultists have used Rogue Team in the past, and Rogue Team might be jealous, like, hey, you know, we can do this better, so we're going to take this evidence and stuff and get you Spearfinger, like the cultists wanted. But yeah, Rogue Team, I think, would have taken the box, which adds up to seeing their lights in the woods watching the guys. Like, oh yeah, Buck's away from his truck, let's take this now before they come back. And then by the time they did come back, that was when Rogue Team saw them and was like, oh, we don't have time, just leave. And they left the scene. And one mystery I do not have an explanation for is who are these, like, bathrobe figures or figure? I don't know if it's more than one or just one. It could even be a ghost. I'm not too sure. I don't really have any explanation for what this is. I sat here thinking for so long. I've, like, taken down notes like, oh, who could these people be? And I can't remember. Maybe you guys remember. Some of you remember details so accurately about Mountain Monsters that I just can't remember. So if you know who this is, I mean, please let me know, because I cannot figure out anything for who these white-robed people could be. And with all that out of the way, I think I have covered everything I wanted to cover for episode 3. I've done the recap, I've done a good few theories, and once again, my assumption is that Sons of Appalachia will be connecting the Tigert Valley to Spearfinger, intertwining them into one big mystery that they'll solve. And I'm only seeing more evidence leading to this as time goes on in the series. Even Sons of Appalachia left a comment like, these are some good theories, so, you know, I'm sticking with my gut saying that this is what's happening, and I cannot wait to see more. I mean, this episode was the best episode they've made. I mean, if you look at this episode compared to the preseason episode, it is infinitely better. The preseason episode was just them holding a phone camera, and the audio quality was so bad. And now it's like, oh yes, they are doing this. Like, I have full belief that within 2 more episodes, this will be the best series ever on YouTube. And I cannot wait to see where they go with it in the future, and I cannot wait to keep covering this. But after all that, I think I'm going to end the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments how I did and any theories you may have. And with all that, I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.